Hey, welcome to our project for C#. We're making this Hero Maker application. In this part of the program, we're going to start by building the controls in the upper left corner of our form. And so let's go to File New on our C# environment here, and let's create a Windows form environment. So a good name for this is called Hero Maker. And I think I have to use a number 3 or 4 by the time I get to this part of the video because I've done so many on my app already. Okay, so we're going to have a basic form, and the part of the application now is we are going to add the controls in the upper left corner of Form 1. We're going to put in a name and then the checkboxes for our hero. So the first thing we need is a hero's name. So the first thing we need to do is put a label. So a label is just a place to store something in the form. You don't actually change the values, so we'll call it hero's name is the text value. Then the next entry that we want to put in is a data entry form that holds a string. And so we use a text box. And so we'll slide the text box in, but I'm going to change the name of each of my controls so that way when we do the programming, it will be more obvious to say this is what the control is for. So for this case, we're going to use txt_name. And so the prefix txt is my invention. A lot of people use the same kind of a standard format. And so that way when you're programming and you type txt_, you know exactly what kind of control you're going to get. So special abilities is the group that we're going to work on next. And since we're working on a group, we're going to put in a group box. So a group box contains any kind of collection of controls. It makes it look good on the screen so the user kind of knows these belong together. And it also works well when you do things like radio buttons. It automatically lets you only select one radio button. So we'll leave the name groupbox1 as its name because we're not going to be programming anything with groupbox1. However, we need to change the text, so we want to give it a title. So text we'll set to special abilities. And then inside here we'll put all of the checkboxes. So let's select a bunch of checkboxes. We just drag one after the other onto the screen, and then we can arrange them later if we change their text. So as you go through and change these texts, invent different types of special abilities. So think of a superhero that you've seen and select up to 8 or 10 or how many ever boxes you have of the type of special powers that you would like your superhero to be able to have. Now I'm going to go through each of these buttons or checkboxes and change its name. So as you can see that I'm choosing CHK as the prefix for checkbox and then a brief description afterwards. So anytime that I'm going to be doing programming with a control, it's a good idea to rename the control so that you don't make as many mistakes when you're actually coding the form. Lastly, I'm going to put in the Create Hero button, and then we'll test out these controls. So let's rename the button as BTN Create, and then put the text on as Create Hero so it shows what we're doing. Now I'd like to test these buttons and then put them into a control. So let's go into the button control, double click it, and now we'll have a new method. So the first thing I want to do is think about how I'm going to store this information. So I created 8 checkboxes, so I'm going to store that in an array. The array is a type of Boolean because a checkbox is a true or false value. And I will initialize the array to be all false values. So now the goal is to fill this abilities array with the values that are checked or not checked. And so ability 0 is going to be my first checkbox, which is check_fly.checked. And we'll go on with the rest of them. Now I'm going to try to put these windows side by side so that way you can see the control at the same time that you're programming it. So if your screen is big enough, you can do this easier. So at this point, all I'm going to create is a status message about what's been selected. This is for testing purposes, so the code will likely change. But the first string will be a status message that says you have selected the following abilities. And then for each ability, I'm going to check to see if it has been selected. If it is true, then we will add the word that goes along with it. So for fly, we'll add the word fly. And X-ray vision, we'll put X-ray vision, and so on. And so at the final status, we should see that each of these abilities will be in the string or not. Then finally, when we have completed all of these status update appends, we're going to show a message box. And so it'll just print the status message. So once more, this is for testing purposes. We'll change this later when we try to create an actual hero. All right, it's time to start and see how this works. So I'm going to select a few of these controls and click Create New. And then it shows me that I have invisibility, extreme luck, and time control. We should also tell it the name of our hero. So let's put in the status message a little bit more. So I'm also going to grab the text value out of the txt name, and now we will see the name of the person as well. So I will name my hero as Ultraman, and let's give him a few different abilities and click Create New. And we can see your new hero is Ultraman. You've selected the following abilities, and then we have them listed. So that's a good stopping point. We've created a data set of true-false values, and that's what goes along with checkboxes.